back. You're watching RT International now. It's been revealed that during the Iraq War, the Pentagon paid more than $500 million to a British firm to spread fake al-Qaeda videos. And it's part of what's believed to be one of the most costly PR contracts in history. Washington's intentions were aimed at portraying al-Qaeda in a negative light. However, critics claim the videos may have instead promoted the terrorist agenda. The staff of PR company Bell Pottinger were stationed inside the highly secured U.S. military and intelligence HQ in Camp Victory in Baghdad. The revelations came to light thanks to a video editor, Martin Wells, who worked for Bell Pottinger in Iraq during 2006 and 2008. Well, he now joins us live here on RT to tell us more. Well, hello there, Martin, and thanks for joining us here on RT International. In one of the interviews, you describe your time in Camp Victory in Baghdad as, quote, shocking, eye-opening, and life-changing. Tell us a bit more about that. Why was it so? I think we have a bit of a technical problem there. Martin, can you hear us all right, yeah? Did you hear my question?
No, I didn't, sorry.
All right, we'll start over again. Basically, I was just saying that in one of your first interviews when it came out of Baghdad, you described your time in Camp Victory in Baghdad, where you were stationed, as, quote, shocking, eye-opening, and life-changing. Tell us a bit more why it was so.
Where to begin, really? Well, it's nothing like I've experienced ever before. I don't think anyone can be prepared for it unless you're a trained soldier, which obviously I'm not. The arrival there was quite a shock, going in on a military aircraft, circling, landing slowly inside a missile cordon, so you're protected, and then being driven down a road called Murder Mile, where snipers take pot shots at you. So again, sorry, excuse me, again, very, very... I guess distressing, really. It was quite distressing, but there was an undertone of, I think there would be with anyone naturally, some kind of, almost excitement, trepidation and excitement all kind of wound up together. So you just felt as if you didn't know what was going to happen. And what I always found quite fascinating was, when you arrived at the camp, when I first went through all the securities, because there are 3 different levels of securities to go through before you get in, the core, I guess, protectors, the soldiers at the front, were lower, what I was going to say were lower nations. I guess you can't, it's difficult to know. They weren't, I guess, the primary people that were there. They weren't the Americans, they weren't the English, they weren't New Zealand, Australians, etc. They were certainly not those. You didn't even get into those until you got to the 3rd layer, where they were a little bit safer. So to me, it felt as if they were putting other nations out to protect themselves almost, which was quite an odd thing. But over time, I realized this was a definite, proactive decision.
Well, Martin, you described that a lot of things struck you as strange when you arrived there. But tell us a bit more about your job assignment. What did you have to do on a daily basis? What is it that you were asked to work on?
Well, to be honest, when I went out there, I had no idea. I was told initially I'd be working on news. It transpired it wasn't new. It was news, but not news as I expected. I expected it to be doing stuff for news agencies such as yourselves and Reuters, etc., and just providing footage for them. But no, when I got out there, I was working in buildings 1 and 1A, which are right opposite the palace where the general was. So I was introduced to the American intelligence people I was working with, and I was introduced to the Bell Pottinger staff I was working with. But I still, at that point, had no idea what I was doing, but I knew as soon as I walked through the door, I certainly wasn't doing news. And then later, as I went through and spoke to other people there and worked out what I was actually doing, it transpired that it was essentially it is a form of propaganda.
So tell us a bit more about that Al-Qaeda promo video. What sort of footage did you use? And you were a video editor. I mean, what sort of material did you work with, and what did you produce?
Okay. I was in charge of the video unit, so I actually set up the new video unit because we had two specific buildings then rebuilt and purposed for our use. Types of things we would make if a bomb had gone off in central Baghdad, which happened quite a lot. They would go film it, we would then get it back to us, and we would create videos from this saying, I guess basically saying, this is what's happened, and stating the facts of what happened, really. So we weren't judging, we were saying these are the facts of what happened, and this can't keep happening. We need, this needs to stop. People are dying. No one wants to die. So we were doing those things. As for you're alluding to the VCDs, is what you're really trying to get to, I guess. The footage used was provided to me. I was the only one that, while I was there, that cut those actual VCDs, and nobody else was tasked with that because I was obviously running that department. The footage was also given to us. So footage was genuine Al-Qaeda footage, stuff that they'd shot themselves, and then we repurposed that for usage in these VCDs that then went out on drops.
So what was the intelligence value of your work, of the videos that you worked with?
When you say intelligence value, in what do you mean?
Well, I mean that what was that video aimed for? What sort of things were your bosses trying to achieve by asking you to do that? Okay,
so most of the stuff we did went out on local news. It would go out on national news. It would go out in different countries in the region. But you're interested in the VCD. Basically, that was purposed, made and targeted at Al-Qaeda themselves. So that was used by Marines and dropped, left on raids, so in amongst things when they raided, just as a VCD on the floor amongst a bunch of others that people would have been using anyway. Excuse me.
And then what would happen to somebody who would watch that?
That intelligence was purposed deliberately to... Well, this is what I was just about to say. If you watch that when it opened up, it would open up on a flash of white, which was the Real Player app, which would flash up, but then that was attached to an analytical site, so that wherever that was played in the world, it could then be tracked. So you would know where it was played, the IP address would be there, and you'd know basically who'd watched it.
So in a sense, it was a double-edged sword there.
And bearing in mind all these VCDs were dropped in the Iraq area.
For example, an innocent person ended up finding... Yeah, I was just saying that this could be seen as a double-edged sword there, as an innocent person could find a CD lying around his house, as you mentioned, sort of like, left by the soldiers in a so-called raid, and then watch it and then end up on a terrorist list.
Whether they would end up on a terrorist list, I have no idea. It's a stretch to say somebody innocent could pick it up, I believe. Why would you? A blank CD? I mean, it's in your house. It's hardly going to be picked up by other people if you've been raiding. I find that unlikely, but to stretch the supposition, yes, that could happen. And but whether you would end up on a terrorist list, I can't comment on that kind of thing.
Okay. Martin, you had huge budgets to work on this project. I mean, the firm, Bell Pottinger, had huge budgets allocated for this project. But tell us, why was a British firm hired for that?
Why? I think it's because they just had a different approach from the American firms that were already out there working. The team was all British. Actually, our side of it was all British, a good mix of people. And then on the other side of the office, you had the American military, the intelligence services, joint psychological operations unit. Now, they were obviously all American, really great, good people, good choice people. And I think the English and the Brits actually worked very well together, and we tried to do something positive. They tried to do something positive.
So,
why they were given the contract, though, I have no idea.
Okay, well, Martin, tell us a bit more about why you left and if anyone at all replaced you after your departure.
I left. Okay. I left because I'd had enough. I felt at the time I was married, 2 children, and they were quite young, and I was basically concerned and worried. Concerned about them, obviously me not being there, and worried about my transit in and out, because our transit regulations changed. They moved us from flying in to Kuwait and then military in to flying us into Dubai, and then flying us on Iraq Airways, so civilian aircraft, into Baghdad, which doesn't obviously have the same protection. And I felt vulnerable, and part of me just felt I'd done it so many times that I was pushing my luck and I needed to stop now. And I spoke to my wife about it, and she said yes, she felt the same way and we should just stop doing it, and so I did.
Right, Martin Wells, a video editor who worked for Bell Pottinger in Iraq during 2006 and 2008. Thanks so much for giving us more details of your story.